Hello everyone. Welcome back to another Planetarium live stream. Welcome back to our monthly live stream series. I'm going to try to pull something up so I can see who is tuning in. Hello. Hopefully we've got some people already watching now. Yep, we got a few people watching. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. My name is Patrick Hess. I am the Planetarium guy over at Union Station. And I'm excited to have you all joining us tonight for this monthly live stream. I want to thank our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for keeping these live streams going and supporting the many amazing educational programs we have at Union Station and the Science Center. If you're tuning in for the first time, thank you so much for joining us. We stream monthly on the first Monday of every month, and today we are going to be covering exciting news topics all around the world of space and astronomy over the past month. And then we're going to do a little star tour where I'm going to show you what's up in the night sky this month. So stuff you can check out here in our Kansas City and Midwest skies. As always, these are live, so if you're watching, then please say hello. I love seeing everyone's comments and shout-outs. And please let us know where you're watching from. That's a good way to start the conversation. And throughout this stream, if you have any questions, be sure to throw those in as well, because we are going to be answering your questions and taking calls from callers from viewers like you. No call-ins yet, but maybe someday we'll do that. Already getting a couple people in the comments. Awesome. Rachel is watching from Leavenworth, says greetings. Greetings, Rachel. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And Tammy, one of our longtime watchers, says, welcome back, Patrick. Hello from Iowa again. Tammy, thank you so much for sticking with us and coming back to join us for this stream. If you are a first-time watcher, we have been streaming. Right now we're streaming monthly, but we've actually been streaming quite a bit. Originally it was weekly over the past year, since there's a little something going on in the world that a lot of people were stuck at home. So we actually have exactly 70 past streams where I've covered a variety of topics, doing deep dives into all sorts of different things. So the tour of the solar system, taking a look at movies and television and how they relate to astronomy. I did a Harry Potter live stream. And if you haven't yet, go over to youtube.com/kcplanetarium and be sure to subscribe to us there, because you can find all of our past live streams there. So I'll be mentioning during today's news topics some of those highlights to check out relating to some of the news that's popped up this month. So be sure to check those out. Again, please like and subscribe to the Arvin Gottlieb Planetarium. That is youtube.com/kcplanetarium. And also, if you're watching from Union Station's Facebook page, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. And be sure to head on over to facebook.com/kcplanetarium and give us a subscribe there too, because that is where we will be giving all of our space and astronomy updates. One quick update. Generally about the planetarium, in case you hadn't seen, the planetarium is currently closed. We have been experiencing some technical challenges with our projection system, but have no fear. We are working through them, and we've got some exciting plans for you in the meantime. So stay tuned again to our Facebook page, Union Station or the Planetarium. And this week we will be providing updates about that, so we can get you back under the dome ASAP. Our laser shows are continuing as planned, and laser shows happened last weekend. We had a full slate of laser pride shows. By the way, if you want this backdrop I've got here to celebrate June, then feel free to download it. We can put a link in the comments section. Next month's stream is going to be Blast from the Past, or next month's laser show is going to be Blast from the Past. That's our theme. And so we're going to be doing laser throwbacks to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, as well as a special laser Stranger Things show, which is one of my all-time favorites. Tickets are available for those, and again, those are continuing as planned. And again, stay tuned for updates on the planetarium moving forward as we deal with the technical difficulties. But we're going to keep these streams going because no technical difficulties there, assuming everybody can still hear me. And it seems like it because we're getting more comments in the comment section. Again, we are live, so let us know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions or shout-outs, throw them in. Jenny says, watching from Deepwater, Missouri. First time? Well, thanks so much for joining us, Jenny. So glad to have you here. If you have any questions about the topics we cover, be sure to put those in the comments. We've got RY saying, hey, from Kansas, with a sunflower emoji, as well as some corn. Cool. Thank you so much for watching. Darlene says, hello from Peck, Kansas. Excellent, Darlene. Thanks for joining us. Alex says, first time viewer from North Kansas City. Awesome, Alex. If I shout loud enough, maybe you can hear me over the river from over there. But Alex, I'm so glad you're joining us here, and I hope you have some good questions queued up. Gene says, hello, I'm a first timer. Awesome, Gene. So glad you're joining us. And Angela says hello from the Florida Space Coast. Excellent, Angela. Well, thanks so much for watching from there. I wonder if there are any exciting launches coming soon. I probably see those all the time down there. All right, everybody. So we are going to start out with some news updates, and I've got quite a few queued up for this month. So be sure to stick around, because after the news updates, we will be doing our monthly star tour, where I'm going to show you what's up in our night sky for this month. And keep the comments coming. We've got Tessa commenting with a scoop of chocolate ice cream emoji for sure. That's what that is, as well as a smiley face. Well, thanks so much, Tessa, for watching. And Eric says, howdy from Lenexa. Glad to have you back. Glad to have you back, Eric. Thanks, one of our longtime watchers there. We've got some good questions queued up as well. All right, keep the comments question. We'll put a marker in the queue here, so I make sure we get back to you. But we are going to jump right in to today's topics, today's news topics. And you know what? We're going to start with the bad news and then go on to the good news. I hope you guys don't mind about that. So let's just jump right in. We're loading here. So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration just released a study from their Mauna Loa Observatory. Well, the long and short of it is that even though people were spending most of the past year inside, this past year broke records for the highest average level of carbon dioxide in the past about 4.5 million years. So CO2 emissions were not curtailed by COVID, apparently. So that's a little less exciting. And again, we'll start with the bad news and go to the good news. So 420 parts per million. And that is, again, the highest that we've seen since levels that we've measured about 4.5 million years ago. We get those measures from ice core samples from the poles. During that time, about 4.5 million years ago, sea level was about 78 feet higher than it is today, and average temperatures are about 7 degrees higher than they were today as well. So, yeah, let's work on those carbon emissions. How about that? Again, we're going to start with the bad news there. Good news, though, there were some exciting eclipses. Well, there was one exciting eclipse that happened and another one that's coming up on May 26th. There was a very early morning eclipse. Some people called it a sunrise eclipse. You probably also saw it posted in the news as the superflower blood moon eclipse, which is a mouthful. But basically, it was a supermoon, so the moon was the closest that it gets in its elliptical orbit. And it was also full. Supermoons are fairly common. They happen 3 times a year, but still very cool. It's about 15% brighter, or 50% bigger and 30% brighter. And then it was the flower moon, which is just the name of the full moon around this springtime. And then it was a blood moon, which is a lunar eclipse. So briefly, and this is a really cool photo collage taken during this eclipse. Very briefly, the moon passed through the Earth's shadow, and it became a blood moon, and basically it became blood red. So the reason this happens is the same reason that sunsets are red. As the light passes through the Earth's atmosphere, it refracts in the red spectrum onto the moon here, and that's what causes that blood moon. And then this is a collage, so you can kind of see the full range of the Earth's shadow, as the moon is a lot smaller than the Earth and a bit further away. So you can see that it's not fully covered up. So very, very cool photograph there of that blood moon. It was very early in the morning, though, so I don't blame you if you missed it. Fortunately, eclipses are fairly common. They happen twice a year. You just got to be in the right place to see it. Speaking of which, there is a solar eclipse coming up. It's what we call a ring of fire eclipse. And this is also known as an annular eclipse. And what happens basically is that, see if I can get a picture. This is when the moon is far enough away that it cannot completely cover the sun. And so what happens is you'll get sort of a ring effect. Let me see if I can find a better picture for you. Yeah, this is a good one. So, yeah, here's what that looks like. So you cannot look at these with the naked eye like a total solar eclipse, unfortunately. But with solar sunglasses, if you have any of those lying around from the last eclipse, you can see this ring of fire there, as it's called. Again, it's called an annular eclipse. Now, I mentioned that eclipses are only visible in certain places, and this one will be visible if you happen to be Santa Claus. So this one is just going to be at the North Pole, really, or extremely northern parts of Russia and North America here. So we're probably going to miss it, although you would be able to see a partial eclipse. So you can see here a range of the eastern United States getting a somewhat of an eclipse. So with, again, solar sunglasses, you'd be able to see the sun kind of passing in front of a little sliver, or the moon passing in front of a little sliver of the sun there. So pretty cool. That will happen on June 10th. So if you happen to be traveling up there and, again, have those solar sunglasses, then feel free to give that a try. All right, checking in the comments. Remember, we are live, so if you're watching live, be sure to let us know where you're watching from and say hello. And if you have any questions about anything, throw them in the comments. Stephanie says, hello from Wilmington, North Carolina. Thanks so much for watching. Stephanie, I love North Carolina. Great place. All right, let's jump into some astronomy news over the past month. And, well, we'll keep the bad news train rolling because, oh boy, I'm very sorry, Jordan, if you're watching, because unfortunately, the James Webb Space Telescope, which has been delayed for what feels like decades now, got delayed again. The launch was originally scheduled for October 31st, Halloween this year, but due to actually not problems with the telescope, but problems with its launch vehicle, the Ariane 5 rocket, it is likely going to have to be pushed back till at least mid-November. Fingers crossed, not further than that. But again, there were some weird anomalies in some of the recent Ariane 5 launches. And the Ariane 5 is one of the most reliable launch platforms in existence, so they want to make sure that they check all these things. And another thing about the James Webb Space Telescope, which we've talked about in the past, is that it will be so far away that we will not be able to service it, unlike the Hubble Space Telescope, which we could actually travel to with this space shuttle. So we get one shot at this, so we got to make sure it works. We've been working on this telescope for 20 years. By the way, we did a live stream all about telescopes, space telescopes. That was on October 5th. So check out that October 5th live stream. Again, youtube.com/KCPlanetarium, where you will find all of our past streams. All right, Amy says, aloha from Blue Springs, Missouri. Aloha to you too, Amy. Thanks so much for joining us. So this is sort of a bad news, good news, but a bit of space debris hit one of the parts of the International Space Station, the Canada arm, which is a big, arm that grabs and moves stuff around. This space debris punched a 5-millimeter hole in the center of this arm. Now, luckily, the good news is that it only damaged a very small section of the boom arm and its thermal blanket, but it does not affect the performance, although they're doing some tests to make sure that's the case. But this just goes to show that there are a lot of risks of space debris. We talked a little bit about that during our ISS live stream, the International Space Station. That was on October 20th last year. So check out that one if you want to learn more about the ISS. But again, that was very lucky in two ways. Lucky that that space debris managed to snag just a small part of the International Space Station there, but lucky also that it appears to not have significantly damaged the Canada arm there. We did a live stream about artificial satellites on January 25th this year, where we talk more about space debris as well, so you can check out that live stream too. All right, so another bit of news that was popping up on a couple different channels that I wanted to do sort of a mini deep dive into is that you may have seen on the news last week that there were a couple news outlets claiming that a giant asteroid might impact the Earth. First of all, it did not. It's already passed by the Earth. But they were saying this asteroid's twice the size of the Statue of Liberty, and it's going to pass as close to Earth as something, that we haven't seen in a long time. Now, news outlets like to sensationalize this type of thing, but most of these near-Earth objects do not pass anywhere close to the Earth. In fact, they are all tracked here by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, NASA's tracker of space debris, and we can actually see the map of where this thing was, and we can even step back a couple days and we can see its close approach there, and that close approach still is extremely far away, much further away than even the moon is to the Earth. And by the way, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory also keeps a website that shows you the next 5 asteroid approaches, where you can click on them and see their own graphs there, and it'll tell you how close they are. You can see they're millions of miles away from the Earth on their closest approach. For a sense of scale, the moon is 240,000 miles away. So, these are passing by the Earth very, very far away. So we track all these things very, very closely. And I did want to talk a little bit more about how we track near Earth objects, as we call them. We did a full live stream deep dive during our Space Surprises live stream on, it was August 31st last year. But just to give a quick summary, so here is a map of some of the objects that NASA tracks. Currently, NASA and other international organizations track over 800,000 asteroids in our solar system, and then 20,000 of them are known as near-Earth objects, or NEAs. So if a near-Earth object's orbit crosses the Earth, and the object is larger than 500 feet across, it's considered a PHO, a potentially hazardous object. Now, asteroids are kind of difficult to track. They're not very bright, they're not very shiny, and they're not as noticeable. They're not like comets that have really bright tails that are really easy to spot even with the naked eye. They are a little bit harder to spot. But even so, the probability of an asteroid actually impacting the Earth and doing anything bad on Earth is very low. So according to NASA's measurements, their probability calculations of an asteroid capable of destroying a city is about 0.1% every year. And that's just one that would pass by the Earth. And even then, if it did enter the atmosphere, 70% chance it lands in the ocean, since 70% of the Earth is covered in oceans, and 25% chance it lands over an unpopulated area, like, a forest or a desert or something like that. The odds of a 5 to 10 kilometer asteroid, like the one that killed the dinosaurs, impacting us is 1 in a million chance, 0.00001%, very low. So there's a very, very little chance. Even so, NASA is tracking these things, and we actually have a scale. This is called the Torino scale, that we can judge different objects and how dangerous they would be if they impacted. For example, the Chicxulub impact, the one that killed the dinosaurs, was about a 10 million megaton energy impact, and it would be a T-scale 10, which is very bad. The Barringer crater, let's go back. So this is the Chicxulub impact zone, which we've detected using magnetic imagery. So you can see below the Earth's surface there around the Yucatan Peninsula here, there's actually a subterranean crater we've detected. Pretty cool there. There are also a bunch of sinkholes around the perimeter of that crater spot. This is the Barringer crater. This would have been a T8 scale. This was in... and then down here is a picture of the Tunguska event in 1908. So the Barringer was a crater formed about 50,000 years ago. It's in Arizona. And then the Tunguska event was in Siberia. We didn't witness it, but we saw the impact of it. This object likely exploded above the ground. The most notable asteroid explosion that happened, popped up in the news, was about in 2013. This is the Chelyabinsk meteor, and this was a T-scale of 0. So it exploded in midair. It did cause some damage and 1,500 injuries over an area of a few dozen square miles after it exploded. But most of the injuries were due to secondary blast effects like broken glass, and no deaths that we know of were caused by this. It was a very bright flash, so there were hundreds of cases of temporary blindness, people who saw it. But this meteor struck completely without warning. We didn't even track this object. We didn't even know it was entering the atmosphere until it was too late, but luckily it didn't hurt anything. Following this event, though, we retasked a few satellites to actually search for more near-Earth objects. And we've been looking for these objects ever since. There are some ways that we're also working on avoiding these impacts, especially ones in the future that may be dangerous to humans on Earth. We're testing different missions, like an asteroid impact mission, where we actually crash basically a missile into an asteroid to kind of nudge its trajectory out of the way. And there's even ideas of creating a probe that uses gravity to pull an asteroid. By having this probe sort of orbit in this unique way to kind of use its own gravity to slowly pull the asteroid out of its path. So there are ways that we are working to prevent problems from these near-Earth objects. But again, there's a very little chance of that anything will happen. Just wanted to bring that up since that did come up on the news. Getting more people tuning in. Jamie says, watching from Ashland, Wisconsin. Thanks so much for tuning in, Jamie. And Lauren is watching from New Smyrna Beach and says hello. Thanks so much for tuning in, Lauren. I bet New Smyrna Beach is very lovely right now. I certainly wish I was there. All right, wow, I don't have so many more news stories. I hope people are still watching, but we're going to keep cruising right along because there are some pretty exciting ones that I wanted to bring up. Let's see, let me skip this. Here's a bit of a good news, bad news situation again. This was a study that was actually put out in April, but I didn't find out about it till last month, so we're going to include it. But this is a study that was released from the SETI survey. That's the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And this study you can see here, co-signed by a lot of different scientists. Basically, they recently, of the SETI Institute, were surveying 60 million stars near the galactic center, looking for radio signals from intelligent life. So they would be looking for periodic radio bursts, so not random ones, but ones that are in sort of a set pattern. And they surveyed 60 million stars, and they didn't find any radio signals. So the full paper is here if you want to read all the technical mumbo jumbo with a couple of weird looking charts. But I just want to make sure I'm using primary sources here. But anyway, I'll save you the trouble. Essentially, they didn't find any intelligent life in terms of radio waves near the galactic center out of those 60 million stars. This same team did another survey of 1,372 nearby stars back in 2019, and they also didn't find any intelligent alien life, at least with radio signals. Now, intelligent alien life could be trying to communicate in a different way, a way that maybe we just don't even understand. I actually talked about this on a couple of different live streams. Our second Hollywood live stream, where we cover the film Contact, we talked about SETI, and that was on January 18th this year. And then we also did a live stream about space mysteries. That was our Halloween stream last year. It was a fun one. Our Twilight Zone stream I did in black and white. And that was on October 26th last year. And I talk a little bit more about why it may be that we have not contacted aliens yet, or not been contacted by aliens yet. So if you want to learn more about that and maybe answer some questions about, whether or not there could be extraterrestrial life and what the scientists and really mathematicians have to say about those probabilities. So check those out. Again, youtube.com/KCPlanetarium. Be sure to subscribe to us there while you're at it. All right, a couple news story updates in the realm of human spaceflight. Real quick though, Amy says the James Webb Telescope won't launch until November or December because the Ariane 5 launch vehicle. That's right, Amy. So I talked about that at the very beginning, so you might tune in afterwards. No worries though. But yeah, it's the telescope itself is fine by all accounts, but it's that launch vehicle, which is the most reliable launch vehicle, knock on wood, we have. But there were some anomalous issues last year, so they are testing that out to make sure that it is approved to carry our baby, the James Webb, up to space, because we only get one shot at that. All right, so we are going to check out some spaceflight news updates, and this one is pretty exciting. The SN15, which was the fifth high-altitude test of the Starship rocket platform from SpaceX, and the 9th test overall. It had a successful landing, and I will cut right to the chase. We have been covering this over the past little while, and so far they've had a lot of failed attempts where the rocket spectacularly exploded or did a rapid unplanned disassembly, as we like to call it in the biz. But this one landed. It had a soft landing, and this is pretty exciting. After just 9 tests, it took the Falcon 9, SpaceX's other rocket, 20 times to stick the landing. And it might be hard to tell in that imagery. I might not have actually shown you that. Let me try that again in case you missed it. All right, so there we go. Landing here. Got some weird lights from my green screen, but that's okay. So again, it stuck the landing this time. Very exciting, and we'll just do a little picture-in-picture here. So this is a scale comparison of the Starship rocket. So this is the test platform that you're seeing there, and then this is the eventual height with an extra booster, and then this is compared to other famous rockets like the Space Shuttle. So it's enormous, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So pretty spectacular that they managed to land that softly. By the way, we talk about reusable rockets in my Future Space Tech live stream. That was from March 15th this year, so check that out. The next launch of the Starship will be an orbital test flight. Right now, SpaceX is just waiting on approval from the FCC for that one. Let's see. We'll do some very quick news blasts. Virgin Galactic, which is another private space company, they successfully flew their Spaceship 2 into space. This is the first time it's flown in 2 years. It's the second model after the first was destroyed in 2014. Virgin Galactic has honestly had quite a few issues with their Spaceship 2, and it's actually not an orbital class rocket. It just goes to suborbit, so it goes to space, but it comes back down. It doesn't stay in space. This flight carried some revenue-generating scientific research experiments as part of NASA's Flight Opportunities Program, but mostly the Virgin Galactic fleet is going to be used for space tourism. So right now they've taken about 600 pre-sale tickets for this for this flight platform. And if you want to pre-order your tickets now, they are on sale for the low price starting at $200,000. So if you want to go to space, feel free to check that out. I'm going to try adjusting something. Woo, nope, that doesn't help. All right, we're just going to roll with it. My lighting setup is slightly off today because one of my window blinds broke off while I was away this weekend. So bear with me as we deal with these weird alien signals coming in from behind me on the green screen. All right, so I said I was going to go quick, but of course I'm not. So Blue Origin is another private space company. This one's run by Jeff Bezos of Amazon fame. And they announced that on July 20th, their rocket is going to go to space with an astronaut crew. And actually, just the other day, they announced that that crew will be none other than Jeff Bezos himself. He is going to take the first flight of the New Shepard along with his brother. Talk about a good birthday present. And again, July 20th, they are planning on doing that. Oh, by the way, this was their tweet announcement. It's the New Shepard rocket. And again, Jeff Bezos will be taking that first flight. So there you go. That's the Amazon rocket, basically. So all your Amazon Prime memberships are going to that rocket launch. And more exciting sort of sciencey news, the first commercial astronomy spacecraft is set to launch in 2024. It's called Twinkle, which I quite like. And this is going to be an exoplanet researching satellite, which is a partnership created via partnership with the University College London and Surrey Satellite Technology Ltd. And again, it's going to be looking for exoplanets. So pretty cool that private companies are getting into space science research, not just human space travel. All right. Another thing we were covering last month is that there was some space debris coming from a Chinese rocket. And this was a huge rocket, about 100 feet long, 16 feet wide, weighed 23 tons, and is one of the biggest human-made objects to ever perform an uncontrolled re-entry. Now, on the 8th of May, the rocket did burn up in the atmosphere. Most of it burnt up, and some very tiny debris ended up landing in the Indian Ocean. But everybody was really worried because since it was uncontrolled, we didn't know where it was going to land. And this is a statement from the NASA administrator, basically slapping China's wrist, saying, "Don't do that again, please." Basically, it's saying that it's critical that all spacefaring nations and commercial entities act responsibly and transparently in space to ensure safety, stability, security, and long-term sustainability of outer space activities. So if you are deorbiting one of your rockets, please aim for the ocean and not for where people are living. It's basically what NASA says there. So take that as a warning, everybody there who is thinking about deorbiting their rocket. Melinda is chiming in the comments, says, I'm headed to Washington, D.C. this summer. Does the Space Smithsonian have similar tours? The Smithsonian Museum is a great place to visit, and they for sure have a lot of experiences all about space exploration. As in terms of star tours, they do have a planetarium, the Albert Einstein Planetarium. I am not sure if they have any shows going on right now, though, as you know. Oh, there we go. It's closed until 2022, unfortunately. But don't worry, Melinda. If you can't tune in tonight or watch the whole stream, then we will be posting just our star tour a little bit later, so you can check that out. So unfortunately, the planetarium there in DC looks to be closed until next year, unfortunately. Question from Eric. Eric says, are there any developments with the planning for a crewed mission to Mars? Is it still moving forward? Yes, and actually that's a great thing you bring that up right now. Kind of leads me on to my second bullet, or my next bullet point. But yes, so right now the Artemis mission is going to be going back to the moon, and that mission will be, the plan is to extend that to eventually go to Mars. And that brings me straight to the next little bit of news, and that is the White House and the presidential branch released their budget request for this year, and they have actually requested a 6% increase in NASA's budget from last year, up to $24.8 billion. That sounds like a lot, but we've covered this in the past. We don't spend very much money on NASA at all. Less than half a percent of every tax dollar goes to NASA. If you want to learn more about those breakdowns and why we should spend money on space, check out our Thanksgiving stream from last year, from November 23rd, where we talk about why we should be thankful for space exploration and spending money there. But anyway, pretty exciting that the current administration is requesting more money for NASA. NASA's budget has actually increased over the past few years, the past administration as well, and this one is requesting more too. About $8 billion of that is going to go specifically to scientific research, which represents the largest budget request for NASA to date. So right now, it's in Congress's lap. They're going to ruminate on the request and decide to allocate funds as they see fit. And the main goal of this budget would be to land astronauts on the moon by 2024. And then by the end of this decade, they're hopefully going to the Mars as well, but it's kind of fuzzy. SpaceX is planning their own missions to Mars, so these things are all up in the air. But first, we're going to go back to the moon for sure. Casey says, hi, Patrick. Hi, Union Station. And hello, fellow fans. And I say, hey, Casey, thanks so much for watching. Glad you're enjoying it. Suzanne says, how's the job market for space researchers? Are there enough of them to support all of these new private companies? That's a great question, Suzanne. And, I don't know the exact answer to that question. Right now, markets are opening up in terms of jobs, and that's good news since a lot of people have openings from last year, which is less good news. But a lot of places are hiring, so I imagine that goes for space research as well. Of course, with a higher budget for NASA, that means they'll be hiring more people to work on space stuff as well. But if you don't want to be paid to work for space, you can do it for free. NASA has a lot of citizen science projects where you can help with space research from the comfort of your own home. So that's a great way to get started into space research. Again, just Google search for, or whatever your favorite search engine is, just search for citizen science, and you can specify NASA or space exploration or astronomy, and you can find some really cool citizen science that you can get involved with. But that's a great question, Suzanne. Anybody else, please put your questions in the comment section. All right, we're already 30 minutes in. So I will unfortunately have to save the 30-minute discussion that I was originally planning to have about NASA's $23 million space toilet. But I will say that there is a great Reddit AMA, which stands for Ask Me Anything, that we can post a link to if you want to read regular people asking questions to the engineering team who designed this space toilet. So I'll leave that to you guys to check out. Again, just check out the link. We can post that in the comment section. It is the general public asks questions, so just keep that in mind, parents, since there may be some general public language in there. But it is a real NASA scientists the engineers who designed that space toilet who are answering. So worth a check out for sure. All right, we're gonna jump into some space news, but you know what? It's 6:30. I'm gonna switch things up just a little bit, and we are going to jump over, and we're going to go and start our little star tour here, because there are a couple other news items that pop up that relate to a couple things in our night sky tonight. So we are going to start our little monthly star tour, and I'm gonna redo an intros to allow for better editing. So let's jump into our monthly star tour. Let's see what's up in our night sky this June. Now, as you can see, we're looking at our lovely Kansas City skyline, the planetarium peeking out just above the tree line there. We are standing on the steps of the Liberty Memorial at the World War I Museum downtown. A lovely view. And it is our daytime sky, our current sky now. We can see the sun setting in the west. But we want to fast forward time and get that sun out of the way, because if we want to have a star tour, well, then we're going to want a couple more stars than just the sun. Of course, when the sun is out, it is the only star we can see, although the other stars are up. They're just hiding behind our blue sky. Now, I'm going to pause right off the bat before the sun finishes setting, because there are a few bright points of light that might stand out in our night sky to you. Now, there are a couple bright stars like this one here, and that is the star Capella, which will be one of the brightest stars in the night sky, the second brightest overall, actually. But there's another bright dot of light next to it that looks a little brighter than it. But look closely at it, because you might notice something is weird about it. This point of light is not twinkling. So you can see Capella there twinkling quite a bit. It's twinkling because its light is traveling through the Earth's atmosphere. And because stars are so distant from Earth, only a tiny amount of their light actually is able to pass through the Earth's atmosphere. And our atmosphere, all the gases above our heads, causes that little bit of light to become distorted, and that's why stars twinkle. But this object here, and another one actually right up here, they're much closer than distant stars, so more of their light is reflected back towards Earth, and they appear as wider disks of light, so they do not twinkle. These are planets. So we have 2 planets in our night sky tonight, the first of which you will see before the sun finishes setting, and that is Venus. We'll also have Mars, which is a little less bright. Mars is pretty far away from Earth right now, but you can still see it in our night sky as a bright red point of light. Venus, for sure, though, will be visible in our early evening sky, very bright. This is when it's nicknamed the evening star. It is not a star, of course, but it is the brightest point of light in the evening when it's visible. Sometimes it's the morning star when it's visible in the morning. It's always either in the early morning or early evening, since Venus is closer to the Earth, closer to the sun than the Earth. So relatively speaking, or by angle, it will always be close to the sun. So you'll never see Venus at midnight, basically, unless you're in outer space. So we're actually going to start with these because there are some news items about Mars that popped up recently. So this is pretty cool. We're going to try to get this to work here. But one of the coolest things about the Perseverance Mars rover is that it brought a microphone with it. So if you'll listen along here, we can actually hear the sounds of the Ingenuity helicopter flying. So this is a helicopter that has been flying around Mars for the past month. And if we listen closely, which I'm going to do my best to make sure you all are hearing, I'm monitoring the levels. Okay, so we're going to hear the wind, first of all, just the wind blowing against the rover, and then we can see Ingenuity right there. And in a moment, you will hear its rotors spin up, and you'll hear a low droning hum. There we go. So this is the sound of Ingenuity's rotor. So we're actually listening to a helicopter flying on Mars. Crazy, right? I just find that amazing. So it's going brrr, like a very low hum, but you can hear it distinct from the wind. And then this flight, it flew quite a few ways away, about 800 feet away, I believe. And you can even hear it flying away. You can even hear the Doppler effect as its pitch gets lower as it travels away from us. So pretty cool that we can not only see a helicopter flying on Mars, but also listen to it. Pretty incredible. So this video is great. You can watch the rest of it. It is on NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory YouTube channel. But very, very neat that you can listen to a helicopter on another planet. So also I wanted to bring up that Ingenuity had a bit of a hiccup on one of its last flights. Now it completed its 5 target flights, and so actually its mission is complete, but it did a 6th flight and it had some weird anomalies happen. Here's a cool photo taken from Ingenuity. Of course I got out. Let's see, there we go. This is a photograph taken from 33 feet in the air on another planet. Again, very amazing. But basically what happened was Ingenuity kind of experienced some wonky issues with its the clock, I believe, on its computer that kind of desynchronized with its program commands. So basically it got a little confused for a second. It landed safely, and they're planning a 7th flight for sometime this week, in fact. But you can kind of see it wobbling here. And you know, this is a great article on NASA's Mars website about the 6th flight and the Mars helicopter chief pilot. That's a pretty awesome job title. It wrote this about explaining the failure, what happened, what they learned from it. And at the end of the day, scientists are happy when this happens, because if all the flights function perfectly, then we wouldn't really learn much from them. So all these failures actually are great learning opportunities. And now with Ingenuity's primary flights out of the way, Perseverance, its mothership, now gets cracking on real Martian science. It's looking for potential biosignatures that could indicate ancient life in the dried lake bed that it landed in. One crazy thing, we've been talking so much about Perseverance that Perseverance's cousin Curiosity hasn't been in the news very much. Now, first of all, don't panic. This is a picture on Earth of a test vehicle. One thing that Curiosity has been having problems with since it landed on Mars in 2012 is that its wheels were not engineered great. Well, they are engineered amazingly. I'm not going to judge the NASA engineers, but there were some problems with them, which we fixed in Perseverance. But basically, Curiosity's wheels have a bunch of holes in them now. Now they're fine for the time being, but Essentially, some of the Curiosity scientists were testing out a way that they could actually manually rip off part of the wheels. And basically what that would do is it would allow Curiosity to continue driving just fine, but without the potential hazard of a broken wheel hanging around. So they actually performed this test on an Earthbound rover replica. So that may happen sometime in the next, 5-10 years, depending on how long Curiosity's mission lasts. But just a little update about Perseverance's cousin there. So there you can see they actually tested this out by basically using a rock to kind of snag a part of the wheel and sort of ripping it off that way, which seems a little brutal. But when you're working with a robot on Mars, you work with what you can get. Curiosity still has been doing some amazing science. It snapped some really great photos recently of clouds on Mars. These are very rare since Mars's atmosphere is so thin. So these are moving clouds on another planet. Just, again, I don't know. Every time I see something like that, it just blows my mind. Clouds on Mars. Amazing. What else do I want to talk about Curiosity? Yep, so Curiosity's mission is continuing. Oh, by the way, China just landed a rover on Mars. It landed on May 14th, and it's the rover portion departed on May 21st. There's a photograph snapped from the Chinese rover. Although China is having some issues with deorbiting their rockets in dangerous ways, as we've learned earlier, they are doing some exciting science. It's exciting to have another country with a rover on another planet, regardless. And it has a bunch of exciting instruments aboard, doing laser spectrometry to measure mineral chemical composition. If you want to learn more about all sorts of probes and rovers, one of our early live streams from April 29th last year, I took a deep dive into different probes and their technology. Then, of course, we did a whole live stream all about Mars, so we're not going to dwell too much on Mars in our star tour today, but you can see Mars right there to the upper left of Venus. Venus is definitely going to be the brighter thing to see. We can zoom in here on Venus. And one of the cool things about Venus is that because Venus is closer to the sun than the Earth, Venus appears in phases. So right now Venus is in a gibbous phase, but sometimes Venus is a crescent phase. So pretty exciting. Venus is pretty cool to look at through a telescope. It is fairly close right now. And again, the brightest point of light in our night sky towards the west. One news update about Venus is that just the other day, NASA announced that it has selected 2 missions to study Venus. Now, they're calling it a study of the lost habitable world. So there are theories about Venus that potentially could have been habitable. It may even had oceans of liquid water on its surface. We did a whole live stream about Venus and Mercury, the solar system infernos, back on October 12th of last year. We took a deep dive into why Venus may have been habitable long ago. But suffice it to say, there are 2 missions that NASA has approved. One called Da Vinci, which stands for the Deep Atmosphere Venus Investigation of Noble Gases, Chemistry, and Imaging. NASA loves their acronyms. And then the Veritas, which stands for Venus Emissivity Radio Science in SAR, Topography, and Spectroscopy. All right, this seems like cheating. They used an acronym inside of an acronym. NASA, I see what you're doing. But anyway, Da Vinci is going to be a probe that will enter Venus's atmosphere to study the composition of its atmosphere, to understand how it formed and evolved, as well as determine whether the planet ever had an ocean of water. The descent sphere will plunge through the planet's thick atmosphere, making precise measurements of noble gases and other elements to understand why Venus's atmosphere ended up running away with its greenhouse gases, and hopefully to understand whether or not Earth may end up the same way. Veritas, on the other hand, will be an orbital vehicle that will map the Venus's surface to determine the planet's geological history and understand why it developed so differently than Earth. So pretty exciting that Venus is getting some missions soon. All right, so the constellation near, right between Venus and Mars is Gemini the Twins. This one will look like a pair of stick figures holding hands. These 2 bright stars are the stick figures' heads. So here's one head, his body, arms, and legs go down here. And here's the other head, his body, arms, and legs go down here. Let us see if I can turn that on. Oop, didn't want Capella. There we go. All right. So these twins were named Castor and Pollux. That's also what the stars' namesakes are. These are a famous pair of Greek heroes way back in the day. They were part of the Argonauts. They helped sailors at sea, and they're often associated with St. Elmo's fire the natural phenomenon that happens at sea. All right, so let's move along. Actually, let's go over to the north. Just want to highlight a pair of constellations that some people are familiar with. Way up overhead, you'll find the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. Now, these are not constellations. This big spoon shape and this littler spoon shape are actually two asterisms. They're unofficial star patterns. But the constellations, the Big Bear, Ursa Major, and Ursa Minor, the Little Bear, use the same stars. So Ursa Major, the Big Bear's tail, is the handle of the Dipper's spoon. The body of the bear contains the spoon plus these two stars, so these 6 stars here are the body. Its legs extend off to the side to the left this season, then its head goes down here. Don't mind the weird anomalies behind me. So there's Ursa Major. Ursa Minor, the little bear, forms a similar pattern. Now, I wanted to highlight these two patterns in particular, the Dippers especially, because if you follow the two stars at the end of the spoon of the Big Dipper here, you'll see you can draw an imaginary line through them down into the sky that'll point at another bright star, and this star is Polaris, and its nickname is the North Star. So we call it the North Star because this star will stay stationary all night long. So if I continue fast-forwarding time, you'll see that all the stars actually move around it, where the star stays still. Now, of course, the stars aren't actually moving. It's the Earth that's moving. The Earth rotates around its axis once every 24 hours, and from our perspective, this is what we see. But since Polaris, the North Star, is located directly above the North Pole, which is the axis around which the Earth rotates, you can see that it will always stay relatively in the same spot. Let's rewind. This is a bit late for our star tour. We're going to check out our night sky soon after sunset. Let's say about 10 p.m. Let's actually... Oh, I thought I saw something else. Woo! Ah! All right. Okay. So back to about 10 p.m. So Venus will be setting in the early evening tonight, but it is so bright you'll be able to see it in the daytime sky. All right, so let's move right along. Now the Liberty Memorial is beautiful, but it is obstructing some of our view, so I'm going to change the landscape. By the way, we are observing through an app called Stellarium, which is a free piece of software you can download for Mac or Windows that gives you a virtual planetarium. So to the west, we have Gemini. There it is setting, and again, Mars, that bright point of light that's not twinkling. Setting in the west also in the spring is Leo the Lion. You can find Leo by looking for an asterism that looks like a backwards question mark or a coat hanger hook. This is the lion's head and his mane. Here's the lion's body, his front paws, and his tail. Looks like he's lying down. Leo represents the Nemean lion. This was the ferocious beast that Hercules fought and defeated during the first of his 12 labors. And forgive me if I pause for a moment to turn my air conditioning on because I am boiling alive. All right, it's summertime. Okay. So... let's continue moving over. Oh, by the way, I want to point out that the star at the end of Leo's tail is named Denebula. Denebula means tail of the lion in Arabic. Not a very exciting star by itself, but it's going to pop up in a minute. We have another bright star down here. This is called Spica, which means ear of grain in Latin, and this is part of Virgo, the maiden. Now, this star pattern is pretty wonky, but I like to think of it as another big stick figure. So this is Virgo's head. Here are her arms, here's her torso, and her legs go down here. And again, for whatever reason, Stellarium has whatever that shape is. I don't know, Stellarium, what's that supposed to look like? The stick figure is much better. Anyway, Virgo was a goddess of fertility or harvest. The Greeks called her Demeter, the Romans called her Ceres. In art, she's often depicted as carrying an ear of grain, which makes the stick figure make sense because in the stick figure's hand is Spica, which again means ear of grain in Latin. All right, so Spica is a very bright star, and the brightest star in the night sky tonight, and the second brightest star in the northern hemisphere, will be this one up here, named Arcturus. Arcturus is part of a constellation that looks kind of like a little ice cream cone, or maybe I'm just hungry. This constellation's name is Bootes, and Bootes, I realized I don't have the names on. Bootes was a hunter that was chasing the Ursa bears. Arcturus, that star's name, means watcher of the bear in ancient Greek. Now, a couple things about Arcturus and Spica, these two bright stars. There's a trick you can use to find them and remember their names. All you got to do is locate the handle of the Big Dipper. And notice how the handle is shaped like an arc. Well, if you extend that arc across the sky, you can kind of imagine it passing through these two stars. And to help you remember this, there's a little saying that goes along with it. All you have to do is remember arc to Arcturus and speed on to Spica. Again, just arc to Arcturus and speed on to Spica, and you can find and remember those two stars. We're going to take a quick break and check into our comment section. If you're still watching live, be sure to let us know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, throw them in. We have Jen, who says that Mason is watching. Hi, Mason. Hope you're still watching. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. Jen says that Mason loves space. Great to see you again. Well, Mason, that's so great. I'm glad you love space. I love space too. And maybe someday you'll get to go to space. I think there's probably a pretty good chance. All right. Melinda says, is China more advanced than the USA in terms of space exploration? That's a good question. Maybe that's above my pay grade to answer. China is working on a space station of their own, actually. And we've worked with China a little bit on space exploration, but they often haven't participated in a lot of the international space exploration initiatives that we have, and other organizations like the European Space Agency and Canada and the Japanese Space Agency have. So they are just different. They probably are focusing on different aspects of space exploration. But, you know, the great thing about science is that we all collaborate with each other. And I'm sure any exciting science that China learns, they will share with American scientists and vice versa. And Melinda also says, neat, this is so interesting. Well, awesome, Melinda. I'm so glad you're enjoying this. And I hope everybody else is too. And we're going to continue on our star tour here. Now, I mentioned Arcturus and Spica, and remember that star at the end of Leo's tail, Denebula? Well, if you connect these three stars, it forms almost a perfect equilateral triangle, and we call this the spring triangle. It's an asterism that ancient people used to help them determine the changing seasons. So the way it works is that in the winter, you'll see these three stars rising one after another, but as soon as you can see all three up after sunset, you'll see that spring is here. Now, there is a more famous triangle asterism that has just risen over in the east, and that is the summer triangle. So the summer triangle is made up of these three stars. They're a bit brighter than the spring triangle, which is why it's a bit more famous. And these stars are named Vega, Deneb, and Altair. So let's start with Deneb. Deneb means tail in Arabic, just like Denebula means tail of the lion. It's the tail of a swan constellation. So this one's super easy. It looks like a big cross. So the swan's neck is between these two stars. Its wings are outstretched like this, and here's its tail. The star Deneb means tail in Arabic. So Cygnus the swan was one of the many disguises that Zeus, the king of the Greek gods, used to take when he came down to Earth to mess around with mortals. Then Altair here is part of Aquila the eagle, one of Zeus's pets. Aquila was in charge of carrying stuff around for Zeus, like his lightning bolts. This constellation has not yet finished rising in the early evening. And then we have Vega. Vega is the fifth brightest star in the night sky, and the second brightest in our night sky tonight, in the early evening at least. It's part of Lyra the harp. This harp belonged to Orpheus, a famous poet and prophet. Now, summer is coming, and in our summer skies, a very exciting feature is gracing our heavens, and that is the Milky Way galaxy. So if I fast forward just a smidge, we can see it stretching up across the southeast skies. You can find it if you look for Cygnus the swan, because this swan is flying through the Milky Way towards the galactic center. So there are a few constellations over in the galactic center that are going to be up a little bit later tonight, so I won't dive too in depth. But I do want to point out that if you do stay up late, you can find the center of our galaxy using an asterism called the teapot. You can see it just rose over here. So here is the teapot's spout, its lid, and its handle. Let's see if I can... It's part of Sagittarius, so you can kind of imagine the teapot shape inside there, along with whatever else that is. But so the teapot here, the pointy spout of the teapot, points right at this galactic center. Now, I'll save it for next month's discussion to talk about what is lurking at the center of our galaxy. But that will help you find the Milky Way if you're looking for it in our summer nights. And the last constellation I want to show is Scorpius. You can find Scorpius by looking for this bright red star. This star is actually so red that ancient people often accidentally thought that it was Mars, the red planet. They made that mistake so many times that they eventually decided to name that star Antares, which literally means not Mars. Astronomers are really great at naming things. And again, this is Scorpio or Scorpius. You can imagine a fan of four stars coming out from Antares here. These are the scorpion's claws, and then his body and tail sort of hook downwards. We'll dive more into the mythology and stories about those constellations next month for our summer stream, our summer star tour. But for now, we are reaching an hour of live stream, so we are going to start wrapping it up. So now's your chance. So in the next couple minutes, please give your final shout outs and comments and questions if you have any. But we are going to start wrapping things up. For those of you who joined late, first of all, welcome. I hope you've enjoyed the part of the stream that you have checked out. And don't worry, because you'll be able to rewatch this stream on our Facebook page, and you can rewatch all of our past streams on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KC Planetarium. So check those out for sure. Taylor says, did you get out and see Comet Neowise when it was visible? I took photos of it, and they were awesome. So beautiful. I did get a chance to see that with the naked eye. It's pretty mind-blowing when you can see something as amazing as a comet like that with the naked eye. For those of you who missed that, that was last summer. And here's a cool photo of Comet Neowise. I didn't get that one. That was Wikipedia for you. But a very, very cool experience. It's not very often that we get to see comets with the naked eye. So, Taylor, I did get to see it. I hope you did too. Don't worry, though, because these comets pop up all the time. We actually didn't know Neowise was going to be so spectacular until it was discovered just a couple weeks, really, before it passed by the Earth. So, these things can come and go really, really rapidly. If you want to learn more about comets, by the way, we did a live stream about comets to coincide with Neowise's passing. And that live stream was last summer on July 13th. So again, youtube.com/KC Planetarium. Check out that July 13th live stream. That was super fun because I made a comet using ingredients you can buy at the grocery store. That's right, you can make your own comet in your own living room. I did it in my living room, so check that out. That was a really fun live stream. So Taylor, thanks so much for bringing that up. And I'm not seeing any more questions or comments, so we are going to start wrapping this up. So thank you all so much for joining us for our monthly stream. Just to reiterate what I brought up at the beginning, the planetarium is unfortunately closed to the public at this moment. We are dealing with a technical issue with the projection system, but we do have plans to reopen in some capacity in the near future. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, head over to facebook.com/KC Planetarium to subscribe to our Facebook page where you can get updates about that. Those will be coming later this week. Suzanne asks if we ever do live stargazing events at Union Station, and we absolutely do. We haven't done them as much over the past year, obviously with certain restrictions going on, but we do have plans for a few this year. So again, subscribe to our Facebook page where you don't miss any of those updates, because I love setting a telescope up and having you guys get to check things out with your very own eyes. So we'll be doing some kind of stargazing event this year for sure, whether it's an eclipse or a supermoon or a planet viewing, something like that. Definitely stay tuned, Suzanne. I've got plans for that as well. Melinda says, great job. Thanks so much for tuning in, Melinda. Petra says, neat. This is so interesting. So glad you joined us today, Petra. And thank you to everyone else who was watching today and who commented and asked questions. I really appreciate you. So glad I get to keep doing this. And we will keep doing this next month. I'll see you back here in July, on July 5th, the first Monday of the month, where we will be taking a tour of our summer skies. Then I'll check out other news stories that pop up over the course of the next month. For now, though, hope you all have a wonderful start to your summer. Hope you're enjoying the lovely weather, and we will definitely catch you all soon. Once again, I have been your planetarium guy, Patrick Hess, from Union Station and the Arvin Gottlieb Planetarium. Thank you so much to all of our supporters, all of our Union Station members. If you haven't yet, be sure to check out memberships at Union Station. We actually have a really great discount going on right now for Science City membership, and that gets you free admission to Science City, as well as free passes to the planetarium, and that'll be definitely worth checking out soon. And I want to also thank our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for keeping these streams going as well, and for supporting Union Station and all of our programs. Well, this has been our stream. I'm not seeing any other questions, so I think we're going to go ahead and sign off. I would bring Phoebe out, but she just got back from the vet, so she's a little tired. So I'm sorry we'll have to wait for a bird viewing next month, but I promise she'll be part of next month's stream. So thank you all so much. Hope you have a wonderful week and month, and I'll see you in July. Bye, everybody.